Welcome back to Crushing 1L. Welcome back! A podcast about the debate kid to law student pipeline. I am Aaminah, a reformed speech kid, not quite debate, but nonetheless, and also a 1L at UCLA Law. And that is Abhi, a actual former debate kid and a 1L at Penn Law.
Oh,
Abhi, welcome back.
we're so much more than our high school hobbies,
And thank
right?
God for that. Thank God for that.
And
Yeah, I would
yet,
say.
and yet here we are, like you said, the speech and debate to law school pipeline remains strong.
Yeah.
I don't know if we do this for validation or if we're trying to fill a hole in our hearts. I don't
I
know.
think you've said the same thing twice, actually.
Oh yeah, same thing. Same but different.
Yeah. But yeah, we're so happy to be back. We missed you guys. And we saw your comments. Which we want to start with actually this episode. Well, okay. The reason we're talking about debate kids is because we are, as promised, going to be doing the AI debate today. But first we wanted to say hello again to you guys, and read your comments from the end of last season. So on Spotify we had Bioke0021 who said fingers crossed the second season gets picked up. Well,
Good news. Good news for
here
you,
we
Bia.
are. Excited to see how the spring semester differs or doesn't, and especially intrigued to see how summer job offers factor into the spring term. You and me both. You and
Yeah,
me both.
and we'll have like I think the next couple episodes we're gonna address like the winter. So for Penn we had a bunch of recruiting happen over the winter, so definitely have some stuff prepared for you, and for all the listeners of how like the job stuff is factoring into the spring, and then I think Amina's recruiting is going to pick up soon here as well. So we'll have more on that. I also want to comment on Bjork's artful and tasteful use of the M dash in their comment, so I appreciated it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then over on YouTube we had Hoderai? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, but they said they just wrapped up first semester and ended up breaking out into hives after finals. And that's real. That's real. Happy 1.33L to you as well.
Oh,
Um,
that's such a fun way of yeah, happy
yeah,
1.33L. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Hey, Hodori, you are not the only one who like I have heard many reports that like people's bodies reacted negatively to this whole thing, man.
I mean, as you may recall, I was sick for a month after midterm, so
Yeah.
yeah, it did
I
happen.
was sick. I was sick and I was telling Amina this off camera. I look so ghostly in the last episode that we recorded back in December because in hindsight, was super ill. But I like I look terrible. So sorry for showing up looking like that. But I felt like shit. And so I think everybody after finals, like our bodies like shut down because I think our immune systems were fighting to keep us in the fight.
Yeah,
And then when the last thing happened, we were like, okay, we're good. We're good.
happens to the best of us, honestly.
I mean, it happened to us, so it has to
Yeah.
happen to the best of us, right?
I'd
That's why we're
say,
in our cozy quarters
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's we have to be warm and cozy and safe.
We're recovering from that. And yeah, and then Julie and Harvey, happy holidays, guys. Happy holidays to you. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome
Yes.
to 2026. Love the show and hope there's lots more. Thanks. So do we. So do we.
Thank you. Yes, it's always fun to have your job tied to a very public thing.
Oh,
so
oh
like
yeah.
we also hope that there's more. But it's like it's super like this is like you guys are gonna see it when there's not. So it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, happy
That's so
holidays.
true.
Yeah, it's
Not only
very
our
public.
job, but also like it's like our private law school experience is also now very public, which
Super public, which sucks, but
is
it is what
something.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. No, no,
Um,
no. It doesn't suck. It's like it's a great opportunity for us to share with you guys.
yeah,
And I never have any anxiety about that ever.
well, it's funny though because I think we do get some really nice opportunities to reflect.
Yeah.
Also, just because like I'm just very grateful to have Amina as a co-host because um, I just feel very comfortable kind of just sharing what is actually going on.
Hmm.
And so I kind of just forget. No offense to the people listening, I kind of forget that y'all are here, and I'm just talking to Amina. And I'm just like, hey, like this is what's on my mind about this thing. So it's really nice. I think that more people should have a friend like that to talk to who's maybe not directly involved in the thing that they're in,
Yeah.
but understands enough, right? Like we're across the country, we're at different schools, so it's not that deep. But yeah, appreciate you, Amina. Thanks for
Yeah.
thanks for be in the whatever this is.
Back at you, Abby.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then Legally Miss D, who's kind of a recurring character here for us. Hello
We gotta have
again.
her. We gotta have her on at
Oh
some
my
point.
god.
We can.
Oh my god,
We
do
can
you
do
want to
the
come
thing.
on?
We can do the thing where it's you're just an outline, and we can voice change your voice
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you want to remain anonymous.
Yeah, you can tell us about your 1L experience.
Yeah,
But yeah, Abby, she said have a good break. Did you have a good break?
I had a wonderful break.
Amazing.
I mean, I am not lying to you when I tell you I turned my brain off for nearly a month. I am
Hmm.
coming to you with a mushy brain right now.
Yeah, yeah.
What about yeah? How was
I
yours?
think, yeah, I think I also, I also turned my brain off in some ways, like for better or worse. Like I did a lot of reading this break, but like
Ooh,
just like leisurely reading, um,
yeah.
and not a lot else, which maybe wasn't my finest strategy, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
did.
what else are you supposed to do except
I
for like
mean,
do some fun things? What did you read? What's your like? What are your reading recs for the group?
ooh, reading Rex, I don't know, but what I
Yeah,
read,
same
um,
same.
I read. So the first book I read was 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Romance. Well, I think it's supposed to be a romance book, but it felt a little bit more like women's fiction. It
Hmm.
felt a little more dramatic than romantic, but that's just me. Everybody really likes that book. I thought it was okay. Then I read Thursday Murder Club, which I thought was so clever and fun.
Love,
Yeah.
love that series. I devoured all of the first four books, and I think the fifth one is out now, and I need to
Oh,
go
really?
find that, or like the fourth one is out, and I read the first. Whatever. Love, love, love that series. Richard Osman, you have my heart. If you ever, I know you're listening. If you want to come on the pod, we'd love to have you. Huge fan.
Yeah. But I really thought the book was super clever and fun. But the movie, I watched I read the book and literally like closed the book, turned on the movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie?
I had to turn it off after 20 minutes because I was like, this is going to ruin a thing that is beloved to me.
Yeah,
It's kind of mid.
it was all the things that I thought were really clever about the book were diminished in the movie. So do
Yeah,
with that what you
yeah.
will.
Because the book strikes this really good balance of like being really sweet about
Yeah,
how it talks about the main characters without being patronizing, but
yeah.
also addressing that people are patronizing to elderly folks.
Hmm.
And I think the movie kind of was just patronizing.
I almost felt like the movie was trying to like make it almost like, oh, like they're just like so good and clever and smart that like they just evade these like normal pitfalls of like things that would actually happen. Like for instance, like um in the movie, like they were able to kind of like do things that are illegal, like get information directly from the police because it's like, oh, they just know so much, like we have to share with them because they're gonna help us crack this case. And I think in the book it was a little bit more
Much
realistic of
harder,
like, yeah,
much
like
harder in the book.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, yeah, between those two, like I definitely recommend the book, the movie less so. And then is that three or four that I'm on? No, that's two.
That's two.
Three was Love in the Time of Serial Killers. So incredibly corny. All due respect, but so incredibly corny. Do not recommend. And the last one is actually a book that I'm reading with the Demon Lit Lounge, which is being reinstated this
Oh, it's
month.
coming back, folks. Get on the
It's coming
Discord. Hang out with
back.
Amina. And sometimes me, I just jump in sometimes. But it's mostly Amina.
Yeah, it's me and your fellow demons. But yeah, that was Piranesi. Have you heard of Piranesi?
Dude, it's on my TBR. Everybody was talking about it last winter, and I bought it, and it's on my shelf, and I want to read it so bad. I've heard so many good things about it.
It's a pretty quick read, I would say. I mean,
Okay.
I finished it pretty quickly, so would recommend. But that book was, I mean, you'll hear more of my thoughts on that if you come to book club, but I thought it was a very interesting book and I'm definitely excited to discuss it. Yeah, and obviously I'd recommend it because I did.
That's awesome. It sounds like you crushed some books over winter break. I started a lot of books. And so I'm in the middle of like three or four. I'm in the middle of
Yeah.
Hyperion by Dan Simmons. I'm in the
Mhm.
middle of The Assassins of Princess by Robin Hobb, which is kind of this like kind of mainstay classic like high fantasy novel with this really cool story. Like she published under a gender neutral name because she couldn't get any traction. It was like the
Oh
70s and
wow.
nobody would publish her, and so she was like, too easy, I'm gonna write under a neutral pen name. And the story was so good, it literally instant classic. So yeah, shout out to Robin Hobb. And then also reading The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wong, which we read a book by her for the book club, for the Demon Book Club. We read
Hmm.
Blood Over Brighthaven,
Hmm.
but I'm reading The Sword of Kaigen, which came before. Also, another cool story. She self-published it on Amazon, and then it was just like fire, and people were like, "Whoa, you're really good at this." And then she got a
She's
publishing deal.
really good.
Yeah, she's really good at writing. It turns out. Um, so yeah, and then a couple other things. Like I started the Tainted Cup, but
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
I haven't like gotten a chance to actually dig in. I've like, been rereading this first 5 or 10 pages over and over again. So I think my attention span is shot.
Okay,
I think that I'm losing my mind, and I
awesome.
blame AI. And I blame AI for it.
No, you can't blame AI because AI is your friend. I blame AI.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
Should we get into it? The the long awaited AI debate.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's get into the AI debate. Amina, I can just jump in.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. Um, I think that AI is awesome. I think that
I think you're dead
AI,
wrong.
so
Immediately wrong.
sad. It's like an anime like fight. No, I think it's awesome because so in the army we would call it a force multiplier, right? So
Okay.
like a technological tool that lets one person be much more effective than they otherwise would be. It's not necessarily a replacement for like professional expertise or judgment, but I think that, for instance, in the context of the law, it can allow somebody with professional expertise and judgment to be more efficient on certain tasks. So, for instance, basic services like drafting cookie cutter or boilerplate contracts or boilerplate memos or documents. I think that attorneys or other professionals in other fields could get work like that done much quicker. I think that it could also expand that access to people that who could maybe otherwise not afford it, just because technology tends to make things cheaper and more accessible. When used responsibly, I think that it doesn't replace anybody. It just makes people more effective. It gives them leverage. And just like any major technological shift, and I think we're going to talk about some here, I think people have had a fear of it, which is super, super valid because change is scary. But just because change is scary doesn't mean we shouldn't embrace it. I think we can all adapt. And also, full honesty, I think we have to adapt. I think AI is here to stay, and we better get used to it. That's kind of my opening statement.
Right. So I mean, as well documented, I'm less in favor of AI. I think, I definitely concede that there is an aspect of efficiency that is created by any technological, not any, but most technological adaptations, particularly AI, obviously makes, thinking faster. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot of detriments to that efficiency. You were mentioning in terms of like legal work being able to be done quicker. Like, I think what we may end up seeing from that is that that creates more legal work to be done because, as I said before, time or tasks expand to fill the time that they're given. So what will end up happening, I think, is we'll start to see more overload, more burnout, more stress because it's like, well, you can do these tasks faster. Like we've eliminated these more minor tasks, so now we're gonna like fill your plate with other things that before maybe they didn't have to deal with. Additionally, I think there's just such a huge environmental impact with AI usage, particularly like cooling data centers, that I don't think people I know that we talk about water usage a lot, and I don't think people really understand the full extent of that. Like genuinely, whenever I'm like using AI or thinking about using AI, I really think about like in 10 years and 20 years, is this like water that I'm not going to be able to drink? Like literal water to my actual physical body that I will not be able to use any longer. And I think also like there's a cost in terms of like our creativity and ingenuity as people. Um, where like AI is literally stealing from people their work product, their art, their whatever it is. And as AI becomes more efficient at doing that, like and people engage with it more to do that, we not only lose our ability to create those things in the same way, but yeah, like overall like that there's a lot of like copyright infringement around there that hasn't been resolved yet in the law. Yeah, so I think there's like while I understand the efficiency and like also do ultimately concede that likely AI will not go away, and therefore we do need to like figure out how we want to incorporate it and use it in our lives. I think that we need to like really seriously consider those detriments and impacts as we are um, engaging in those conversations.
Super fair, super fair. So, folks, those are the two opening arguments, and I think those are, well, I don't know. I think that these are both takes that like I think a lot of smart people have. Like I think Amin and I probably agree with a large majority of each of our points. So if you're listening and you feel really strongly, please leave a comment. We'd love to hear which of those you align with more. But of course, we're going to dig in here. So I think my first more specific point that I'd love to hear your thoughts on is the efficiency point. I think that's the strongest argument for AI is efficiency. And of course, there's really great responses against it. But I think that taking the time to address that it is efficient just like every technology ever has been efficient, right? So like
Hmm.
when Excel was first a thing, people said, "Oh no, accountants and investment bankers are going to lose their jobs or whatever," and it ended up not being the case. Spreadsheet software ended up just making those professions more efficient. Why does AI make people why does AI make people more efficient? I think that the hardest thing in the world is a blank page. The hardest thing in the world is starting something. So if a lawyer or another professional can use AI to get a first draft of something and then they can apply their professional expertise and judgment to it, I think that it's just going to make things go faster. To go from zero to something is
Hmm.
is better when it happens at instant speed. I also think that specifically there are in professions there are routine things that actually should be automated. So again, I use Excel as an example just because of my finance background, but there was a large contingent of people that worked at firms whose job was solely data entry, and Excel as spreadsheet software solved that. And to be clear, like I don't think that those people shouldn't have jobs, but I think that perhaps their job being data entry wasn't like an efficient allocation of human capital, right? Those people then ended up getting trained on other things, and they got freed up to do other stuff. So routine stuff like a demand letter, routine stuff like a discovery request, things that are going to be memos and documents in the law, for instance, that are going to be the same pretty much damn near every time. Why not have AI just draft something? We already have templates, so give AI the template, give it the few facts that you want to change about the template, and it's going to draft something for you that's going to be pretty good. And I think that efficiency matters because drafting time is expensive. Lawyers bill hundreds and hundreds of dollars an hour to sometimes thousands of dollars an hour. I think that getting that first work product done fast might enable more lawyers to, instead of charging by the hour, maybe just start charging by flat fees because their personal work hours are going to reduce. They're going to put less time into something because they can do stuff more efficiently. That doesn't mean they're going to use less care. I think they're still going to, again, apply their professional expertise. But for instance, instead of billing 2 or 3 hours at $1,000 an hour for a contract, a firm might be able to charge a client, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 flat fee because they're leveraging tools like AI. So I do think this is my best argument, but I'm really interested to hear what you have to say against the efficiency. I mean,
No, I mean, like, interestingly to the comment of like the hardest thing is a blank page, definitely getting something like going is has its huge advantage. And I definitely agree with that. And I think you kind of mentioned like there is an aspect of that already where there's already templates used for a lot of boilerplate and standard sort of documents in law firms. But to that point, like starting with AI, it's interesting. I was actually reading about this study from MIT, which is kind of like the big study in terms of, I think, what is it that they call it? Cognitive debt. Is
mm-hmm.
that the term, cognitive debt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they found that like people when the participants in the study started with AI and then moved on to like doing it on their own, they couldn't quite pick up as well, if at all, from where the AI left off, versus where if they started on their own and then moved to AI, like they had a much better time like moving forward and also like developing those skills, right? Because they engaged in that mental analysis first, or engaged in like that difficult problem solving first before moving to the AI versus like the other way around. So while there is an aspect of like, yeah, like let's just get the ball rolling and like let's just get something done, I think like there is a training in terms of like going through it, doing it yourself, and then maybe moving towards AI if need be. Whereas if you're starting with AI and like, oh, like let's just get it rolling and like let me use the AI to get started, like you're not using those muscles in the same way, and like there's something lacking there, right? Like, um, yeah, starting with something generated and then like trying to like build off on top of that. I mean, like even in my own experience when I've engaged with AI, um, trying to like, I don't know, write a cover letter, for instance, right? Like if I start with an AI idea, it's so hard for me to expand outside of that and like come up with my own, like what would I say, like how would I frame this, whatever it is, versus like if I start with like here's what I think and here's how I want to go into this, and then like I maybe talk to like my mom about like, okay, like what do you think about this language. My mom, I hi mom, my mom is she was did a lot of like hiring stuff, so that's why I bring her up. But like, you know, talk with my mom about like how does this language sound, like would you hire this person like if they were coming to you with this, and then like, you know, like talk to my career services advisor and talk to other one else. And then like, okay, like after I've compiled all this information, like then do I still need to go and like do AI, whatever, like to kind of like refine it or make it more concise? Like that is a much better exercise in terms of like my being able to like next time just get the ball rolling versus like always having to start with AI. And I think like that's what this study demonstrates as well. Like if you have more training in like starting with that blank page, fighting through that and struggling through that and moving forward with that, like it's not only training for like these standard form templates and like these things that are like very routine, but like more complex problems and more difficult issues, like you have a better basis of how to engage with those things because you've practiced it before on a small scale level.
I unfortunately agree with you. I think that's a really good response. And I think that's the best response to the efficiency argument, which is efficiency at what cost? It's you're absolutely right. And that MIT study is really damning. It turns out that the friction we face when we begin a task is actually super, super important for engagement with that task.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, to draw an analogy maybe to some of our listeners who might be familiar with this, right? That's like opening an LSAT question and looking at the explanation before you even try the question. Uh,
Right.
you know, you're not going to get as much out of that question because you already have something that you're working off of. You didn't actually think about it. You just got told what it was. Or it's like reading the summary of a book before you know, like we used to, like in high school, you know, we'd get like a reading assignment, and look, maybe me, I was guilty of like, I wasn't super enthused maybe, right, with the novel we were
Yeah.
reading in English lit or whatever. So I was like, yeah, like check out the Spark Notes or the Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
And then I would try to read the book, but it's like, oh, I already shot myself in the foot. Like
Yeah.
the part of doing the thing is struggling with the text at first, for instance, in the reading analogy. So I do think there's something there. I don't have a great response to it, except maybe that the tool would be best for somebody who has already done it the hard way. Um,
Yeah.
and and so like that's what our law school actually at Penn, we were encouraged to use AI for a portion of our memo, but that was only after we had drafted the memo
Yeah.
and done the work. And so once somebody has already done the work, then using AI to make stuff more efficient, or for instance, like a 30-year attorney or an attorney who's been working for 20 years doesn't need to like, maybe less, maybe they still need to engage, but maybe to a lesser degree they need to engage with like a boilerplate demand letter, and so they can just generate it, and they're like, yeah, I have been doing this for 20 years, I know what I'm doing. But that again, a first year attorney maybe shouldn't do that because, like you said, I think that the friction at the beginning is really, really important. So completely concede, honestly.
Yeah, and additionally too, like in terms of like AI specifically, like the dangers of AI is like the hallucination thing, right? Like if you're starting with AI, if you're, you know, even to the whole conversation of the legal memo, right? If you're starting with a drafted legal memo, it's starting and it's hallucinating these facts, hallucinating cases, whatever. Like if you've never engaged with this material independently, like you may not even be able to identify that because like you've never seen it outside of the context of the AI. I don't know how much of a danger this is honestly in application, but like theoretically, like if you like AI makes a lot of errors, and if you've never like engaged with something on your own, like you may not be able to identify that as readily because you've never struggled through that hard work and been like, wait a minute, I know that's not right because I made the same mistake when I was reading this, and then I had to learn
Right.
the blah 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 blah, and like yeah, and AI is such
This
like a
reminds
yes
me.
man, you know, like it
It
wants to be
is.
right.
It is. It will glaze you.
Yeah.
And I think this reminds me of something that I think Ben and Nate talked about on the Thinking Outside podcast. But it's like when somebody like Malcolm Gladwell talks or writes a book about stuff that you don't know, you're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. I learned something.
Hmm.
And then he writes about something that you do know really well. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you don't know anything about this. And so it's that 80-20 effect where if you are not 80% on something, AI sounds like it's a genius because you don't know anything. If you are near 80% expertise on something and you talk to AI about that thing, it's very, very evident that it has no idea what it's talking about. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. But it's getting better. It's getting better. It's learning. It's stealing all of our data from, you know, all the
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's another point, but yeah, it's getting better, but it's just
yeah,
like,
that is.
yeah, at the same time, like there's something to be said for the struggling through in the initial
Yeah,
stages with your own cognitive abilities. Um,
yeah. I
and
think that's
if
very
then
fair.
after that you go through and want to go to AI, like, okay, that's your own thing. But like in terms of like that initial desire to just take that route and be like, well, it's efficient, it's fast, it's done, like there's something lost there, I think, more than what is gained.
Yeah, and that's when we want to use it the most.
Oh,
When
100%.
something is like uncomfortable and hard and new,
Yeah.
we want to use it because we want to get the ball rolling. So, like for instance, like a lot of college students are I think falling into the AI trap. Right? They're in
Mm,
the one environment where they should be really uncomfortable, pushing themselves out of their comfort zone in an educational context, learning a bunch of new shit every day from a bunch of new perspectives that they haven't considered. And it should feel bad, a little, not bad. It should never feel bad, but it should feel hard sometimes. It should feel challenging. It should feel a little uncomfortable. But that's exactly when you want to lean on this.
yeah.
And so they're using it for like really critical moments in their education, that we have. Truth be told, we don't even know what the consequences of that are going to be in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've seen literally, like, TikToks. I think, like, I saw one TikTok where, like, a high school student was like, "My English teacher wants us to write a 5 paragraph essay in an hour. Like, be serious."
Yeah, and
What?
it's like, what, dude? Like, you
What
can't
do
even
you
do the
mean?
5 paragraph. That's like something we've been practicing since fifth grade. But yeah, they're like, what? Why would I do this? I would just ask Chat GPT to do this.
Like, write it in an hour. Like, as if that's not enough time. It's just like, yeah, like there's skills there that are definitely being lost. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and not to make your point for you, Avi, but like, I mean, we did talk about this a bit as well of like skills being lost versus adapting skills to different areas. Like, there is something to be said in terms of like, I am making this argument that like there is a cognitive debt that we're paying when we use AI, or that we're accumulating when we use AI. However, there is something to be said about like those skills in terms of like critical analysis and struggling um to with complex issues, instead of applying that to like generating work product from scratch. Like, you might apply that instead to like generating prompts for AI that like make the AI better and more useful to you. Like, so there is like perhaps like a switch in skills rather than a loss in skills that might come about from using AI. But yeah.
but I think that would take a level of discipline that somebody who's tempted in this way that we're talking about doesn't have. Like by
Yeah.
definition, right? Because if you were disciplined enough to turn it into a learning moment where you were really you just put all your energy into crafting a really good prompt that helped you clearly and concisely understand the question and the problem that you were trying to solve, and you were truly using AI um, as a co-pilot and as a partner rather than as a person, like
Yeah.
a person just doing it for you, then I think, yeah, that's awesome. But like, that's not who is accumulating the cognitive debt, unfortunately. And that, again, not to make your point for you, but like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, in an ideal world, I think we all use it more responsibly, but I don't think that's, that's how we're using
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I do want to open the floor. So I had time to make my point, and you've made a really thoughtful response. Yeah, what's your? I think, and secretly, I think this is your strongest argument as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my biggest thing and my constant thing is AI water usage and the environmental impact of AI. I think it's such a huge, huge, huge problem that like we are not really. I said this in the opening, but like we're really not thinking critically and carefully about like what is going to happen when we run out of water, which we were already facing that issue prior to the advent and like widespread use of AI. And now like all of a sudden like AI is everywhere and nobody even thinks about like, oh, we need to use water to cool down AI. So I was reading this article on the from the environmental and Energy Study Institute, and they were saying that 3% of Earth's water is fresh water, and about 0.5% of that is usable water, so water that we can actually drink and access. Um, and within that, I don't know how many tons of water or gallons of water that accumulates to, but like within that, like that's the water we're using for us to drink, but that's also the water that is being used for like everything, including AI usage. So like these data cooling centers, just in the US alone, this article said that it used about 449 million gallons of water per day. And like annually, it was about 1.8 billion gallons of water annually, right? So this is water that's being used and can't be reused because once it's used on AI, it says about 80% of the water evaporates and then like it becomes contaminated with chemicals and stuff like that. So it's like hard to like get that water back into our ecosystem of like drinkable, usable water. Um, as you may well know, like we have drought issues already, especially me as an Angelina, like drought has been a constant refrain for years and years and years. So like this is concerning, like that we're gonna run out of water and like we're just dumping it on AI. And we don't even need to. Like there's really no reason. I mean, of course, like efficiency, yada yada, blah blah blah. But like we don't need AI. I'm concerned about that. It worries me that people are not talking about the environmental impact of this.
I think that's really fair. The environmental impact is significant, and I think that it would be foolish for me to say anything besides that. I do think that when we say the numbers, though, like when we say like a billion gallons for the data center,
Yeah.
it's like without any context, that sounds like a really scary number. But
Yeah.
like you said, we use water, perhaps too much water, for like a lot of shit. Especially, and so this is kind of my pet peeve issue, but especially in the Southwest. So in Southern California, the Imperial Valley, and surrounding areas in Arizona like Yuma, there was a lot of leafy green farming that occurs in that area. And that is the worst place to do leafy green farming. It's the desert, but we do it. Most of the leafy greens, consumed in the United States comes from a very small part of the country in the Imperial Valley and Yuma. And the problem is that a bunch of farmers got there in the 1800s and they kind of just pointed at the rivers and they said, okay, cool, I'm going to use that water to irrigate my farm that I'm starting. And because they got there it was kind of like a dibs situation. And so it was like the home, it was like the manifest destiny. Like we just went west and we just pointed at stuff and said, oh, well, that's mine. And that's just how water rights work in the Southwest, which is a disaster. Because a bunch of water is used to irrigate these leafy green farms to produce stuff like alfalfa that go to like feeding livestock around the world. And that's important. Like that's like a part of the economy. So like that's good that we like do something to sell to other countries that helps them feed their livestock. But like that's not even stuff that we're consuming as human beings in the United States. And we're using, like you said, a precious resource, a arguably non-renewable resource. I know we think of water as a renewable resource, but it's kind of not in some ways. And we're kind of wasting it on these like alfalfa farms. And if you the numbers that we throw around about AI are really scary and rightfully so, but it's, we use, I think, something like 2 million something gallons of water per acre on an alfalfa farm in Yuma, Arizona. And there's like 300 to 500 acres of alfalfa farms in Yuma, Arizona. So that's just one part of the Southwest that uses almost a billion gallons of water or more just to irrigate crops that we don't even eat. It's just for livestock and stuff. So I agree. I think that the environmental cost of AI is huge, but I think that maybe to your point, we need to have a broader conversation in 2026 as a human species on Earth of like water usage and what we're using water on, crops and data centers and I don't know what else is water used for. Like everything. We use water for fucking everything. It's so important. We're 70% water. So
true.
So true, right? So yeah, like I think, and this is not a great response, right? Because this is, to be clear, like in LSAT world, I'm doing the classic thing of like, well, your thing isn't bad because there's other bad stuff too, and that's not a great response. So, but I think the better version of it is, your thing sounds really scary. There's other really scary stuff too. So I don't actually know how scary your thing is,
So
and I think that's
Yeah, actually, we should just live in terror of everything.
No,
No, but
exactly. And that's not a great response either. That's like a defensive. So to be clear, it's like a defensive argument. It's not quite an offensive
yeah,
counter response,
yeah.
but it's the best I have. But I do think you have yeah, you made a great point.
No, and I totally agree. Like, and I can concede to like using those numbers definitely out of context because again, like I don't, as I said, I don't know what how much water 3% is of like our total water of supply, or that 0.5% is of the total water supply. Like I don't know how much this factors into that. And actually, I would recommend that y'all check out Hank Green's video on what we get wrong about AI water usage, because he definitely had more to say about it than I do at this current moment. But yeah, using those numbers can be a bit of a deflection tactic, I think, in terms of like saying a scare tactic to be like, listen to how much water is getting used. So good on you for catching that. I hope you guys catch that too because that's very like LSAT argumenty sort of thing. Um, but at the same time, yeah, like I will not at all negate the fact that we are using water poorly and could probably, or we need to have conversations about how to think about how we're using water so that we don't die because we need water as a human race. I mean, yeah,
But
like,
Amina, what if we used AI to figure out how to get the water out of the ocean? Because aren't the tides rising? And so there's arguably too much salt water.
mhm.
And so what if we used AI to figure out how to get fresh water out of the salt water?
I mean, something to be said for that, I suppose. What if we
Sam
use all the
Altman?
fresh water to try and get AI to figure
Yes.
it
What if
out
we
and
use
then
every last drop of fresh water to solve this problem that probably doesn't need to be a problem?
yeah,
Um, I will say, Hank Green, love your work. Um, if you're ever, I know you're listening, so if you ever want to come on the podcast, we'd love to have you. A huge fan of SciShow, huge fan of your channel, Hank's channel. Shout out to your two novels that you wrote. Huge Hank Green fan. Huge Hank Green
yeah,
fan.
yeah, yeah.
And if you'd ever have us on Ask Hank Anything, we'd love to. We'd love to come.
We'd be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely agree that there's like a broader conversation that needs to happen. And also like in terms of AI, like this is not something that can be understated. The importance of water usage in AI can't be understated or neglected
Yeah.
because it's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's like there's a bunch of other and there's like a bunch of other environmental stuff too. I think that maybe one positive environmental effect of AI is that it has such an enormous energy requirement that AI and tech companies are reinvesting in nuclear energy, which is so cool. Because I'm a huge fan of nuclear because I'm a huge fan of green energy that doesn't require like dependence on wind or solar. Not anything against wind or solar. Those are some of the greatest technologies we have right now. They've scaled really well and they've gotten really what's the word for the opposite of expensive? Affordable. They've gotten really affordable, like by an order of magnitude over the last 15 years. So solar and wind are awesome, but those take a bunch of space and to scale them you need to physically scale those components. So like a solar farm is more effective when it's giant versus when it's small, or like a wind farm is more effective when it's giant versus when it's small, versus a nuclear reactor is fairly small and produces like a bajillion, and that's a scientific term, a bajillion gigawatts of energy. So I'm excited for that. And maybe we can use AI to figure out. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Well, no, but I think also like to that you just reminded me I heard somewhere and oh, I wish I had thing to reference to, but I heard somewhere that like because of AI, like we're also extending the life of like was it coal plants or natural gas plants or something I think it was coal. I think it was coal, but like that the lives of these plants are being extended because it's like there's such a massive energy pull from AI that now we're like, okay, well, we were going to shut these down, but like now we need to keep them going so that we can like
Oh, that's
fuel
so
AI.
sad.
Yeah. So even
That's
that,
so sad.
yeah. Like
So tough.
I was just looking it up while you were making that point about nuclear energy, which would be awesome. Nuclear energy, like let's invest in that.
Nuclear is the future.
But yeah, like this article from Politico on November 27th, 2025 says pollution from coal plants was dropping. Then Trump came along and it's basically talking about how these two Georgia coal plants were kept open for powering
Yeah, just to
AI.
meet the
So
energy demands. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's so sad. I do think so. Like, not to get too sci-fi, but like we are nowhere close to even Type 1 Kardashev. And so like I don't know if you've heard of like the Kardashev levels, but
No.
sci-fi authors have kind of accepted this theory that like a civilization is Kardashev type 1 when they can utilize and store all of the available energy on their planet. Because if we ever want to like, so one, if we want to continue to exist on Earth, but
Hmm.
two, if we ever want to exist outside of Earth or you know hang around our solar system in any meaningful way, we need to be way more efficient about using our resources, including energy. And I think like nuclear and sustainable energy like wind and solar is a huge part of that. Um, I also think that eventually we'll have to build a Dyson sphere and completely cover the sun with solar panels because to get to Kardashev Type 2, a civilization needs to harness as close to 100% as possible of the energy from their local star. So not only do we have to be more efficient about how we use Earth's resources, we also have to be more efficient about how we use the sun's resources. But covering the sun in solar panels with a Dyson sphere is a little bit, I think, down the road. For now, I think we could figure out how to further improve wind, solar, geothermal, and nuclear.
Something about that reminds me of when I was reading Project Hail Mary and they like paved the savannah in solar panels and it like was like catastrophic for the environment, but they're like, we need this energy so that we can like whatever. I forget why they were doing it, but like feed I think the little aliens that they were trying to use.
They had to feed the little black dots that like ate the
Yeah.
sun or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's exactly like that. And so that's kind of like that's the problem with wind and solar. I love wind and solar, but like to properly scale wind and solar, you actually just need to build more of them. So like I mentioned this just now, but like a giant solar farm like the one in Project Hail Mary is much more efficient than a smaller solar farm. But something like nuclear scales really well. So I don't know, man. I don't know. And then Dyson spheres scale really well too, but those are fake and we don't know how to build them. But maybe we could use AI to build Dyson spheres and then solve all of our problems.
Yeah, but okay, I think we got a little off track there, but no big deal. That's
How dare
no,
you?
okay. Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, that was super off track. No, I mean you made a really good point about the environmental stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
the
don't care. Who
environmental
cares?
stuff.
Who cares? Who cares? I just want to drink my Coca Cola and eat my
You want to drink that
hamburgers. And
Coca-Cola, you better stop using AI because otherwise there's not going to be water to mix into it. Just
that's so
saying.
sad. Coca Cola will
Just
figure it
saying.
out. They'll figure it out. They'll make
Maybe
fake
they'll use
water to put in
AI.
their Coke. Yeah, maybe they'll use AI to make fake Coke. Um, so that was a really good point. I think that the next argument I have is that it does. I think AI frees up professionals to do more complex work, which
Mm.
is I think just a continuation of my first point, which is that if it makes simple, repeatable work, template-based work more efficient, it by definition frees people up to do more complex work. I think this is a weak argument, I will say. Like I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
because it
start.
just, I mean, like everything that AI has is what we've done. Like it's learned
Yeah,
off of us and it's stealing from us. And like
agree.
it requires human productivity to advance. If we are not producing because we're relying on AI, there's no more AI advancement, there's no more human advancement, like
Yeah.
net
Oh,
zero.
dude, that reminds me of like there's this really sad feedback loop happening where because so much stuff over the last 5 years has been written by AI, or at least partially written by AI, all of the training data for AI today is looking at all the data from the internet from the last 5 years, and a lot of it is AI, and so AI is
Right.
just learning more. It's just AI, like in a feedback loop because we've stopped creating. That's so sad.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, like I saw recently like this image of like a side by side of like AI images from the past and like AI images today. Like, like I think there was a bit of AI literacy among younger generations in terms of like looking at AI videos or AI images and being able to identify like especially like with the hands, like, oh, this has too many fingers, like that's AI, whatever.
I am so good at figuring out when a hand has too many fingers.
But like it's learning and adapting and like replicating things in a way that is becoming infinitely more difficult to discern. Um And I think also that's really troublesome because it's like that's manipulating reality. Like that can, especially in the legal context, like that can have huge ramifications. I mean, we already had like, um, oh my goodness. I'm trying to think. I feel like we read a case about this in Civ Pro where it's like manipulation. No, it wasn't the manipulation of recorded video, but like I think it was is it Scott Vito? No. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
Scott v. Harris is about like whether a case can survive a motion for summary judgment when there's video
Yeah,
evidence
yeah,
that
yeah. Yeah,
contradicts
yeah, yeah.
the contradicts the case. Yeah,
Look at me pulling that out. Okay,
nice.
recall. See, AI can't. I couldn't have done that if I only used AI. But in any case, Scott v. Harris, use of video footage in terms of like dismissing a case, right? Like if we
Yeah,
have this video evidence that directly contradicts a narrative being proposed by one side, but it's been doctored by AI, like then that starts to call into question of like what can we trust? Like can we even use video footage as evidence anymore? Because like
yeah,
now you can just generate a video of whatever you want. Or if we are admitting video footage that is and without like a critical analysis of like what's AI and what's not, and how do we definitively determine and prevent AI from entering as evidence, that can cause huge problems too, because then again, like you can just create any reality that you want. And we already have such an issue with innocent people being incarcerated because of human decision to not pursue the truth. Um, so when we add AI into that and add in these like add in an inability to discern what is truthful because we have AI generating things that we can't determine, like, is this real or not? Like that's gonna cause a huge issue.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we've already seen it, right? So 100 years ago, an eyewitness account was, oh man, like open shut case. If you had an eyewitness to the crime, dude, prosecutor walking in with no notes brings up the eyewitness as a witness, and boom, you're going to jail, right? Whether or
Yeah.
not you did it or not. And unfortunately, right, like a lot of like people of color and minorities ended up going to prison for crimes they didn't really do because somebody was like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, I saw you do that, you suck. Um, and then we obviously like a bunch of like science and psychology went into figuring out the limits of eyewitness accounts and how inconsistent they are and how limited they are and how people's memories are completely malleable,
Hmm.
um, and able to be manipulated. So we don't really love eyewitness accounts anymore, but we think that video evidence is the truth, like you said. But now videos are fake, right? Like you can just make anybody say or do anything on a video. And so now we have this complete lack of objective like evidence,
Yeah.
unless somebody saw something happen that you trust enough. Maybe are we going to go back to eyewitness?
I
But
mean,
that's kind of whack. I don't know.
I don't know. Like there's it definitely, calls for a conversation about, how we're gonna
Yeah,
maintain or seek to find objective truth in these changing circumstances. But even to your point
yeah.
about like, like eyewitnesses having racial biases and stuff, like again, combining that with the fact that AI is learning from us, like this is to say nothing of the fact that like racial biases are being trained into algorithms and AI. Like there's a lot going on here. Like there's
There's a lot of
a lot to be
layers.
concerned about, a lot to worry about in terms of like AI learning from us no longer producing and relying on AI, and then AI learning from itself, and so on and so forth, in this like cycle that we're going down with
This is a
the increased use of AI.
this is a 7 layer burrito of issues here, folks. Yeah, but I think this is all true. But I do think at the heart of it, when a professional is able, for better or for worse, to ease their workload, I think that results in more effective use of time for things that individual might be able to prioritize. So, like, for example, um, when and we were talking about this off camera, but like calculators, right? We used to, before calculators, you either did addition or subtraction longhand, or you built up the mental capacity to do it in your head. Right. Now this is a relatively trivial skill that probably doesn't have any like real world impact. But there's a world where if your job was like really, really intensive about doing longhand addition and subtraction, all of a sudden you didn't have to do that anymore, and you worked at NASA, right? Maybe that was huge because that if you spent 4 hours of your 12-hour day doing math by hand, you could use those 4 hours to go do other NASA stuff. And there
Yeah.
was that awesome movie, and I love cheesy movies, so like Hidden Figures, super up my alley because I love like a cheesy story of like this person overcame the odds and they were exceptional. They were special and different than everyone, but they were so good at what they did, and that's what made them cool and good and valuable. And obviously that's like not a good message because everybody's valuable in their own way, but yeah, those awesome ladies that literally did math faster than the calculators. Like
Yeah.
the reason they were cool is that they helped us get to the moon because they were so fast and accurate that they made calculators obsolete. But they are human calculators, and that's what calculators have done to us. Calculators have made those rote addition and subtraction activities obsolete, so that hopefully we can go spend our time doing other things. Now, I don't know if that's true. I think that the weakness of this argument is I don't know if that's true, right?
Yeah.
Every minute that we free up, do we go do something creative or do we spend it on TikTok, right? Or Instagram Reels, in my case. Like it's unclear if AI is opening up my, time to go do better things, or if it's just giving me more time to brain rot, which
Right.
I think I've undermined my own point here, unfortunately.
No, and I think that's really, but like that's I think my concern too, and like what I mean when I say like tasks expand to fill the time that you give them. Like we've had this technology has given us the ability to work more efficiently and work better. And in that space, like capitalism and our like, well, the way that capitalism functions in our society is like, oh, cool, people have more time to do stuff. Like, we're going to maintain this 40-hour work week. We're going to maintain like 5 days in office. We're going to maintain all these systems that are not even like necessary anymore just to like maintain these structures and have people working in this certain way, like rather than thinking like, okay, like we don't need people to work 9 to 5. Like if somebody works if somebody can work like what 9 to 1 but get the same amount of work done and be done, like then they can go and like live their life and we don't need to keep them in 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, like whatever. Like like we've already had this. My point is we've already had this ability to like reduce and like free people's time up, and we haven't done it. So
Yeah,
like I don't.
because we crave productivity, right? Like I think the middle manager's response to, oh, you got your work done in less than 8 hours, great, I can give you more work, which is
Exactly.
which is like the opposite of what I think we want in an ideal world. And I think COVID really cracked a lot of that stuff open because it forced us to reconcile with the question of like, why are we showing up to work in person? We have so Amina and I are on opposite sides of the country right now, right? But we're able to have this conversation just as effectively as we would in person. And so like it begs the question of like, what are we doing? Like, what are we even doing with half the shit that we do, right? People driving their gas powered vehicles to work, environment, or their Teslas, but you still need to charge them with coal anyway. But yeah, like people commuting and wasting hours and hours of human capital every day to go sit in an office and do the exact same thing they could do from their laptop, like in the comfort of their own home. So yeah, we are so bad at updating stuff and changing. Or I don't know, maybe that's not the takeaway. Maybe that's not the takeaway.
I mean, again, I'm a bit more cynical, so I think there's a bit more purposefulness. It's a bit more purposeful in
Yeah.
terms of like keeping people in certain systems of like productivity, or like
Yeah.
framing productivity in a certain way that is draining and not productive ultimately, like to creating whole and well-rounded individuals.
Mhm.
I think there's like a purpose for that. Like obviously it's like, I mean, even to the point of like scrolling, right? It's like, well, if I can keep you working until the point where like now you're tired and all you want to do is scroll, and like while you're scrolling you're buying stuff, I'm mining data off of you to then like sell you more and blah blah blah. Like there's a point to that, like it's not like
Yeah.
we can't. It's just like I think it's a choice rather than like an inefficiency.
Yeah, and we're all pawns in a game, like at the end of the day, which is fine, right? Like we're not all going to be the main characters, but like, yeah, like the point of the algorithm on Instagram is not to actually enable you to do creative things on it. Although people do, right? People have used Instagram creatively, but the algorithm and the company, like the economics behind Instagram, want you to scroll infinitely, like you said, mindlessly buy things with the shop feature, and just consume ads and just like generate revenue, like generate ghost revenue, right? It's just like your brain is, your eyeballs are the commodity and your attention is the commodity. So, no, but everything's fine though. Everything's so cool. Everything's good.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, definitely pros and cons on both sides of this argument. Like, I still
For
maintain that I
sure.
think like
For sure, there fine, very very fine people on both sides. I mean, very fine people on both sides of this.
I mean, I maintain that for all of AI's pros and efficiency, and like I know I get it. Like I've been there. Like I have had the moments where I want to just use the AI because it's so much faster. However, I think for me, I maintain like there's value in the struggle and like there's a necessity in the struggle. I mean, like I could even extrapolate this out to further points, like in terms of like the coming into the office thing, like, and I won't, but like, particularly in this conversation, like I really think that there's value in the struggle
Yeah,
and for all the efficiencies and benefits that we get from AI, like there's a real detriment that doesn't is not outweighed by those benefits.
I definitely agree with you. Okay, we've each
Oh my
made, I
god,
think,
wait, oh my
two.
god. Did you guys hear that? Abby agrees with me.
I've
Abby's
been
an
agreeing with
AI
you.
hater.
I've been
Abby's an
agreeing with
AI
you.
hater.
No
Everybody
way,
hear
dude.
it. He said it here first. Abby hates AI.
Folks, before we started recording, Amina was like, "Can I use AI to draft my points
Whoa!
against
Whoa,
AI?" And
whoa,
I was
whoa.
like, "No, if you want to be a hypocrite, you could do that. Yeah, for sure."
Maligning my character. I said I want to use AI. I wish I could use AI, but I will
Your
not on
ethics and your morals,
principle.
your ethics and your principles, yeah, stop you from doing that. Um,
Yeah,
well, this is the debate then.
we've debated.
So
I
who
won.
won? Who won? I think you won. I think you won. Like I think that, but really, I think the takeaway is that like none of us win.
None of us win.
I think that this is one of those things where this is a revolutionary technology, and none of us really know where it's going. Um, when computers were in every home for the first time, we had no idea what the fuck was going to happen, right? I think we just don't know what's going to happen with this. It's such a new tool. People are using it effectively. People are using it ineffectively. People are using it in helpful ways to help other people and themselves accomplish tasks better. People are using it in destructive ways that produce environmental costs needlessly and actually get in the way of creativity and the copyright infringement thing is a whole different. That's like
Yeah,
for a legal lawyer, like for for legal
real
lawyers.
lawyers.
That's for real lawyers to figure out, way above our pay grade.
For
But
now.
yeah, like content generated based on other people's work is not great. On the other hand, isn't everything that we know and do based on other people's work? We stand on the shoulders of giants, Amina.
Not a new thought under the sun. This is true, but like there's a compensation structure, there's there are legal structures around how we can use and derive benefit from other people's works that AI does not have.
Fair.
I was about to get into like a whole diatribe on like the big beautiful bill and like the 10 years of AI wild wild west, but I won't.
It's
Lots
so
of
big. It's so
yeah.
big and beautiful.
Lots of regulation that just hasn't been done around AI and lots of people
Yeah.
who are actively suffering in real time because we're
Yeah.
just like out here using AI willy-nilly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the artists are suffering. Like the people that used to actually write and the people that used to actually draw and make the art that we love, they're struggling because people have decided that AI can replace their art, and that's not how that works.
And it's not trivial that art is suffering. Like art is
Yeah,
the
it matters.
representation of our lived experience. We need art and creativity. Like it's not like
Yeah,
I don't want you to hear that and be like, "Oh, well, who cares if the artists are suffering?" Like you care. It matters to you. Trust me.
yeah. I think that we all care, or at least we should, right? I think that we go see movies and we buy paintings and we go to the museum to view the work that humans have created with their own hands um, over centuries because it inspires some core like human thing in us where it's like, whoa, this is a metaphor, this is a thing that means something to me and makes me feel, and that's all great. Uh, but but companies, corporations matter too. I mean, they're people too.
I mean legally yes, but no. No.
Well, and maybe we just agree to disagree. So you're not anti AI, you're just anti corporations, and
I am
I for one,
anti-AI actually.
I for one am pro AI and pro corporations. So let the record show.
Well, okay. That's it. That's the AI debate.
That's the AI debate, folks. Let us know in the comments who you think won. I think that I won despite Amina's arguments being better.
Right. And yeah, let us know what we missed or what your thoughts are on AI. Join us in this debate, in this conversation.
Yeah, and I would love to hear, like, if you have something specific that you've used it for that's been like a thumbs up, let us know. And then if you also have something you've used it for that's like kind of been a thumbs down or like a frowny face experience, let us know. Like, I think we want to see both, right? Because I think we all are living in a world where we have to figure out how people are using this thing and how people are using it in their lives and how it's affecting people. So we love to hear from you guys. Easiest way to get to us, it seems like, is just leave a comment on Spotify and YouTube. I keep pitching like you could write into the pod, but like you can just write into the pod wherever you're listening to this. There's no better way to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we got, Aaminah. What do you say?
I think that's all we've got, Abhi. I mean, yeah, for this opening back to season 2,
What a meaty
it.
episode. What a meaty episode to open the season. So sorry, folks. This is like more than an hour long. That's so sad.
Hopefully it won't be in post, but
Hopefully it will. But no, this is welcome back. This is season 2. This is the home opener for the second the second wind that we have, into 1L. AI's on everybody's minds. Hopefully this was fun, folks. If you liked it, let us know. If you didn't like it, let us know. We have a bunch of really cool stuff coming up the pipeline for you. We're going to talk about the job thing. We're going to talk about, and we know some listeners of ours are LSAT students, so we're going to talk about all the spring stuff that you have to think about when you're thinking about applying to law school as a 0L. So it's all coming up, folks. But AI debate in the books. The books.
It's done. We did it. Next,
It's
Hot Wings
done.
episode. Next is the Hot Wings episode. Forget all the law school stuff.
Wait, Hot Ones would be so fun. But like, what would I even ask you? I guess I could just ask you about your life. I don't really care about that.
Yeah, not very interesting.
Okay.
Secretly, I just have so much to share about my life. No, but in all seriousness, like we will, like Abhi said, like we are gonna in addition to talking about like the law school stuff that we're experiencing, we are gonna like help walk you guys through like how you can get introduced to law school, like how to pick a law school, how to prepare over the summer, use Crushing 1L. It's really good.
It is actually unironically really good. Like not a shill. It's actually really good. It helps you get better at. It helps you prepare for your first semester.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get into all that this season, and but that's it for today.
Hell yeah, dude. Season opener in the books. That's it for this episode of Crushing 1L. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a review or just share it with somebody in your life thinking about law school. Maybe we can convince them not to go, or maybe we can convince them to go if they want to. Really, they're just going to make whatever decision they want. But if you have a question or a comment, like I said, just leave it wherever you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube. But you can always write in the pod at podcast@crushing1l.com, or you can just go to crushing1l.com. That's just crushing the number 1 and then the letter L.com. Thanks, Aaminah, and welcome back.
Welcome back.
Woohoo! See you guys.
Keep crushing it. You didn't say keep crushing it.
Oh no, I forgot the thing.
Oh my god. Okay.
No, keep it in because I want people to know that we're real. I want people to know that we're real.
Actually, this was actually an AI. That was the real.
What if this was AI
debate? Oh my gosh, 6 fingers.
AI debate, but with us as AI. No, folks, this is real, and we have been away for 2 weeks, so I have forgotten how to do the outro. But until next time, keep crushing.